Morning, everyone. My name is Richard Porritt. I'm one of the senior editorial staff at Archant, and I've been asked along today to chat to you a little bit about the Suffolk Business Awards and indeed how to produce an award-winning entry. The reason for that is that I was, for some time, the business editor across the East of England, so I've been involved in the awards events and indeed the process of picking nominees and winners for a good few years, and it's a fascinating process. We get to learn a heck of a lot about a heck of a lot of businesses, and we always find good stories from almost all of them, whether they're winners or not. And it's wonderful to get out there for journalists and meet some people in the community. So this is going to be something of a whistle-stop webinar, which you will be able to ask questions throughout. Now, if you want to ask a question, please stick it in the Q&A, which is down the bottom of your screen, and we will get to it at the end. Equally, if you'd rather just stick your hand up at the end, or indeed just butt in when we get to that point, then you're more than welcome to do that as well. So please do that. That will allow you to get the most out of this and help you to hopefully be there on the evening a little bit later in the year. Okay, so shall we start to go through some of the bits, Steph? Do you want to go to the next slide?
Yeah.
So this is what we're going to cover. Why do businesses enter the awards? And that might seem like an obvious answer to that question, but it can be for a number of reasons, and you will all have your own reasons for entering. It may be that you want to simply have a jolly with your staff, which is a perfectly good reason, or it may be that you want to get your business out there in the public domain more. There are numerous reasons. It might just be, and this is why I enter awards, because you will want something nice to put on your mantelpiece. We will also talk through the process, how you actually go about it, your application. There'll be top tips for entering, and we'll also tell you what the next steps are. Stephanie Griffin from our events team is the expert on that. She'll be coming in a bit later. And I'll also be talking to Mike Bowden, who's the marketing manager from Cory Brothers. He'll be telling you all about their business and the successes they've had and what impact it had on them shortly as well. Should we go to the next slide, Stephanie?
Yep. Okay.
So why enter the awards? Well, here are 4 good reasons, and I'll add some more as well. If you win an award, and these are long-running awards in Suffolk and very well respected, then that is a sign of your excellence. These awards are not dished out to anyone who turns up on the evening. There is a hugely rigorous process that you have to go through, and no one wins by a fluke. All the nominees and all the winners are deserved, and every year, and I've been doing this for a few years now, it gets better, and it's been extraordinary to see actually how the level of awards has increased even through the pandemic. I think last year's awards, which were our first ones back after having to do it remotely, last year's award nominations and picking the winners was really, really tough. Because I think businesses had to get better. They had to think quicker. They had to pivot, and they had to, they had to pull out all the stops through that incredibly difficult period. Now, sadly, I imagine they're going to have to do that all over again, because the pressures of the pandemic continue, and we've got even more pressures. The fallout from the last few awful years continues. But I have absolutely no doubt that we will have an even higher standard this year than we had last. Of course, one of the big pressures on businesses in many sectors, certainly in some really big sectors here in the East of England and acutely in Suffolk, has been recruiting and retaining better staff. If you've got an award nomination or indeed win next to your logo, then that certainly tells the staff, potential staff, that you're doing something right. And as I say, these awards are very, very trusted. It's great for your profile. You will be covered in our titles across our platforms in Suffolk, whether that be in print or our huge online audience and on social as well. And, it absolutely instills pride in your workforce, and a proud workforce will definitely bring you more profit, as is the last one. And that is the thing that we all love more than anything else, of course, in business, is making sure that we can live to fight another day. And profit is key. And, you know, these awards will not guarantee you profit overnight, but as a part of the jigsaw, they're a pretty big one, I would suggest. What's next, Steph? So here are some of the benefits. I've already mentioned some there, but obviously this gives you a real something to really shout about, I think, and the media coverage and the PR opportunities. And I know we've got some PR experts on the in the webinar today. They will tell any business owners that the PR opportunities are vast around these awards, whether you are nominated or indeed win. And it does help, I think, to gain a competitive edge. If you've got a customer who's looking at two firms that are very much the same, one of them's netted themselves a Suffolk Business Award in 2022, that may be the thing that tips the balance. And the business community out there in every sector is as competitive as ever, as you would expect. And anything that might just give you that edge should be welcomed. So it's certainly worth entering for that alone. There is the way that we do the process, and we'll get into this in a little bit more detail later on, but you know, we have a panel of experts who would, if you get through to the long list or indeed the short list, would interview you, and you are obliged and asked to hand over certain details with regards to your entry, and you know, these business experts give you feedback, which of course should be welcomed, and it's absolutely free. I think it does help to drive best practice. I think that's absolutely true. But perhaps one of the best things about it, of course, is that you get to celebrate with other businesses and the networking opportunities. I'm sure Mike will agree with this. The networking opportunities on the night itself are fabulous. It is a great event. It's you know, one of the first dates that I stick in my calendar every year. It's a lot of fun, and there's a great sort of collegiate atmosphere between the firms as well, and the networking opportunities are fantastic. Of course, recognition is a big part of this, and if you win or are nominated, will be absolutely deserved. And I think it's great for the team as well. You know, you can grab yourself a table. It's a good night out, and even those who don't go along are at home watching on social media, let me tell you, and it's a great way to motivate and build up team spirit. And you know, we see that every year, especially at the end of the night when it gets a bit more rowdy. Stephanie, what's next? Well, this is and finally I've stopped rattling on now. I'd like to hand you over to Mike Baden, who is the marketing manager, as I mentioned, at Cory Brothers. Mike, firstly, tell us a bit about Cory Brothers, and then tell us about your experience of the awards, because you are a somewhat storied firm when it comes to the Suffolk Business Awards, aren't you?
Indeed, indeed. Thanks, Richard. So I'm the marketing manager for Cory Brothers. We're a shipping business. We're headquartered in the centre of Ipswich. We have 14 offices around the UK and some in the States and in the Far East and throughout Europe. We're celebrating our 180th year of trading this year, so quite the story of longevity. Our actual business, we get involved in all parts of shipping, so we look after the ships at various ports around the world, and we look after the cargo. So we're heavily invested in all sort of bits shipping and maritime.
And Mike, tell us, well, firstly, tell us a little bit about when you, because I know certainly in the last few years you've been very keen on the awards and very keen on entering them. So tell us a little bit about that process and what you got out of it, and what the positives have been.
Gladly. So in the first instance, why did we choose these awards? Because of some of the things that you already said in the first place, is because they are massively recognised, they are revered, respected, they are critically honest, really well run, and you know, from my perspective as the marketing manager, seeing so many of our peers and other good companies and brands entering these of a period of years and seeing, you know, these accolades that they've succeeded with, the coverage they achieve, and so many of the plus points. It's getting to the stage where it would be massively remiss of us with our increasing profile not to be a part of that process and not to measure our success to see whether we were worthy or not. There are so many different things that we found out en route. Firstly, it's never as simple as you hope, which is a fantastic mark of respect for the awards, because they are rigid. You know, they will ask questions of you that perhaps you haven't considered before. No matter how deep dive you think you're going to go into, there is always something that comes up, and that is a fantastic thing. So it's like the critical friend, where you learn more about your business than you certainly anticipated in the first place, and not just, you know, from the congratulations side, where you think, okay, well, we're doing that well, but it's what you're not doing, or how much more you can do. So the process is rigorous. It's certainly massively worthwhile. And I would urge anyone to get involved in it. We're clearly very pleased to be back involved with the awards again, for all those reasons, because it's worthwhile. And, you know, we're headquartered in Suffolk, and we want to do Suffolk. We want to see Suffolk do well as well. So yeah, I would urge anyone who's thinking about it to not hesitate, to get on with it.
And I'm really glad that you mentioned there that how rigorous it was, because I think often there are lots of awards that you can enter as business, of course, but I don't think that there are any regional awards that are as rigorous as this and include as many experts in the choosing of the nominees and winners. How helpful was it for you to go through the process as a business, and actually, even before you get to the interview process, just poke around in what you do a little bit? Because someone said to me, you know, we knew all that stuff happened and we knew it worked pretty well, but then we had to poke around in it for this process and realize that there were things that we could do a little bit better just by shining a light on it.
100%. And there's quite a few things. I can't go into too many of those, but that would be unfair. But there's quite a few that I can. So the first part is that when you're looking at the process and, you know, the top tips, we wanted to profile as much as we could and get it right and make it as good as possible, as successful as possible. So we looked at the homework, we looked at previous winners, we engaged with the top tips. Be honest, back it up. You've got to have those stats, those facts. And how can you stand out? And sometimes that's quite tricky. So you do have to really sweep the corners and speak with the rest of your colleagues to see, you know, how they're doing, what are we doing, is it any different? And you clearly identify, no matter how successful you are in certain parts, that you can always do more. But you also learn that perhaps some of the other teams and parts of the business are undertaking certain practices from quite significant stuff to small scale stuff that can be used across the rest of the business. So we like to think that we're really effective communicators as a business in a very fast-paced environment. But some of those messages internally, you know, weren't getting through. Not massively, you know, essential or critical stuff, but stuff where we could improve for customers, for suppliers. So the process itself, whilst rigorous, is massively, I want to go as far as to say cathartic, but that you will find out more about your business and you will pick other positive parts up. Absolutely, no doubt. And if you're not, then I'd almost be a little bit concerned that, you know, that you need to look at it. That introspection really helps.
Yeah, and I think that's a really valuable thing to do, because it's often the sort of thing that, because of the day-to-day, everyone's very busy. It might be something that you wouldn't normally do by and large, and it gives you an opportunity to do it and really put a focus on it. Now, you have won, haven't you, in the past? Tell us a little bit about the benefits of, well, getting nominated, because I think if you get to within touching distance, this sounds very cheesy, doesn't it? But if you're nominated, everyone's a winner. Apart from the actual winner, who is the ultimate winner. But nonetheless, how did that impact the rest of the team?
It was really significant. I'll take a couple of steps back, because you said something at the start, which is one of the core reasons. And odd that may sound, but through the pandemic, the enforced distancing had a strange effect, where it kind of brought so many parts of the business and people of the business together. So, we're all at kitchen tables and home offices, suddenly having this new wave of engagement, finding out much more than we knew before about each other, how we're working. So that had a massive effect. The distance brought us closer. So some of the other key factors that we've benefited from, when you get to the stage and you find out you've been nominated, it's a massive boost for everyone in the business, because everyone's a stakeholder. They all buy into it. They know it's a team effort. It is a team effort. There's no escaping it. And our particular category is Employee of the Year. So it's super relevant to the whole team, because we can't do anything without them, without us. We are the team. So when we're even talking about this, and you don't want to get ahead of yourself, and you say, do you know what, the fact that we've reached this far, that's fantastic, and well done, everyone. It underlines everything you're doing, everything. And then when you become a finalist, it becomes that much more significant and important and relevant. And then you start dreaming big. It could be us. It could be us. Sadly, it wasn't to be. But I think the effect that it had, and as you said earlier, just the fact that we can refer to that as an absolute fact. So we were a finalist in the 2021 Employee of the Year category is a big deal. And the reflection that has when we talk to the team now, it's relevant. And when they are talking to their other sort of friends and network to say, come and join us, and they will say that. So it's not just the business looking for new talent in various departments. We're growing, we're developing, we're doing really, really well. But it's when the rest of the team are doing that, so you should come and work for us. So it starts to work. It instills just another level of kind of pride and belief in what you're trying to achieve. And as a consequence of that, you want more. Unequivocally, you want to do it again, and you want to go further, and you want to really, really push on. So it has that effect. And the rest of the team come forward with other ideas. They're all, we've done this, not the business has done this, it's we. And so it has that snowball effect.
It's really great to hear for someone who's been involved in the awards, and I'm sure Stephanie will agree, who spends far much more time than I do making sure these awards are a success. And just finally, Mike, I've seen, having sort of judged for a number of years now, businesses come through and grow. That's been really clear. Would see through. I remember there was, I won't name them, but one particular firm who didn't make it onto the finalist lists in the first year that I judged, and then in the next year in the same category, you could see that improvement that they'd made on their application, and then therefore to their business as well. And then they made the nominations list and were at the event the next year, and they didn't win. And then the next year they applied again, and you could see the improvement they'd made from nominee, and that year they did win. And you could almost track it like a graph. Is that something that you've found as well?
Massively, 100%, because you still want it, and you might come up short, you might not reach, you might not go as far next time, but it certainly won't put you off. Absolutely not. All it does is help you. There are so many different parts of this that you will benefit from, and you highlighted some of these earlier, whether it's the wider exposure, the recognition that more people know who you are, what your business is, and what you do, further, wider, louder. The actual, the marketing side of it for me is for my specific role has been fantastic, because it makes life so much easier, and people want to engage even more, because you've got this this happy moniker, and an additional one around the whole business that says finalist employee of the year. And our MD, Peter Wilson, as current person of the year. So, you know, he's the top of the business. He has that wider voice now. So the duality of being a finalist and a winner for Cory Brothers, for advertising, for marketing, for awareness, is massive. I'll tell you something else which is really which we didn't realize at the time, but has an impact on your suppliers and your customers, because they also have pride in what you're doing. You know, so it sounds a bit cheesy, but we talk about partnering and really sort of having that relationship with your network, your suppliers and customers. It is like that. And when they're getting on board to say, isn't it fantastic you've done this, and we see why, or, you know, there's a bit of banter with it, it's fantastic. And also, it would be remiss of me not to say, you are absolutely right. The evening itself, when you are going there, aside from the fact that it is great fun and you can let off some steam, hopefully, but you are there as a finalist among a massive, rich pool of talent who buy into the same things as you in some shape or form, with loads of different sectors and industries, is a real big deal. And, you know, I don't want to reel the names off, but we've met some great people, we've made some new friends, we've made some new relationships, got some new business out of it. So the evening itself is fantastic, and that cherry on the top, as I say, is winning. And if you don't win, you know, you've still massively achieved, and boy, you'll be back next year or the year after or whenever you can, and you'll give it a good crack.
Yeah, agreed. The evening is brilliant. It really is. And if you haven't been to one, then you know, enter, and even if you're not in a minute, come along. You can still buy tickets. It's a really wonderful event.
Absolutely.
Mike, thanks very much. Would it be all right if you were to hang around? So just in case anyone's got any direct questions to,
yeah, sure.
It'd be great if you could, if anyone's got any direct questions to somebody who's sort of been through the process a number of times. Dan and Vicky, I've seen your questions. I'll try and get to them at the end. And it might be that, that Stephanie has to help me out, because I struggle with big words. And talking of Stephanie, let me hand you over now to Steph Griffin, who is on Archant's events team and knows about all the sort of technical bits. Take it away.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Richard. And obviously, thank you to everyone for joining us today. So just to start off with, I just want to talk through the actual timeline on how you can expect this process to run. So obviously our awards launched and opened for entries on the 16th of March. That's when our website went live with our sort of entry form, announced our criteria, all of our sponsors for this year's awards. And that will remain open for entries until the 29th of May. So you have got a few more weeks to sort of get your entries in. Obviously, hopefully following on from this webinar, some of our top tips will be useful, and it will help you sort of round off your entry and sort of ensure that you've got all the best sort of snippets of information about your business within your actual entry. So once our awards close for entries, the judging period will begin very shortly after this. So we have 2 rounds of judging. Round 1 is paper-based with 2 judges per category, and each of those judges will review each of the entries individually, scoring against the set criteria, which we do have on the awards website, and then those scores are combined. So once those scores are combined, that will then determine a short list of businesses for round 2, which will then consist of either physical or virtual judging meetings with the 2 judges and actual business representatives. This obviously gives the judges sort of more of an opportunity to dig a little deeper into the actual business and find out some more information, and again then scoring it against the set criteria. Once those judging meetings are complete and they have sort of submitted their scores, the scores will be combined, and then 4 finalists for each of the categories will be determined, one of which will then be the winner. So our judging is complete by the 21st of July, and shortly after, businesses will then start to be notified of their standing in the awards. Either way, you will receive feedback if that's on your entry, or if you were shortlisted for a meeting, you get that valuable feedback. So it really, even if you're not selected as a finalist, you will get some positives and constructive pointers, which will then help you in the future, or maybe, you know, areas that you might not have considered doing within your business. If you are obviously selected as a finalist, this is the point where you'll be invited to the actual awards event, and we'll start to request information from you for our finalist supplement and that sort of process of promoting your standing within the awards. So then on the 31st of August is when our finalists will all start to be announced. So we'll have that announcement in one of our lovely finalist supplements where we detail each of our finalists, each of our categories, and that goes sort of in print, online, and we really do start to shout about the sort of finalist status on all of our platforms, so our social platforms, and we push that digitally and like I say in print too. So money can't buy sort of exposure there for your business. Then on the 29th of September is when this year's actual awards event will take place. It will be at Milsom's Kesgrave Hall again, which is a lovely venue in Ipswich, and obviously not to be missed, following on from Mike and Richard talking about it a little while ago. So and then following on from the actual award event, we have our winners features, our award supplement, and then individual sort of features on each of our winners. So that coverage really does continue sort of on after the awards. So it isn't the awards event and then that stops. We do like to keep pushing that and really shout about and champion those businesses that are sort of the best of the best in Suffolk. So on to the application process. We have a dedicated awards website, as you may have seen. Obviously there, as I say, you can find the full list of categories along with the criteria and those specific points the judges will be looking for. So this year, our theme for the awards is growth. We obviously feel it's so important to recognise those businesses that have really adapted and shown that resilience over the last couple of years in particular. So it really is great to sort of champion those businesses that have shown that growth transformation over that period of time. We have implemented some new points for 2022, so just wanted to run over those ones. A business can enter a maximum of 2 categories as well as a category for an individual, so that would be either the Director of the Year or Young Entrepreneur category. If you have won one of our awards categories in the last 2 years, we are asking businesses to take a short break from entering the awards. So then you can come back in 2 years' time and shout about your progress and tell the judges all about what you've done for your business during that time. And we have also changed the entry form. So we do have 5 criteria points and word limits in place just to ensure a very concise and relevant entry is being submitted into our judges. So the first thing to do is obviously review all of our categories. Each has the written criteria points and then the 5 weighted points, which are worth 20% each when the judges are reviewing your entry. So we would really suggest you take that time to look through those categories thoroughly and start to think about where you can evidence against that sort of given criteria points. The actual entry form will initially ask for business details, then asking for a business overview, which has a 250 word limit. Obviously, at this point, it is really important to give a good promotional description of your business here. So giving a concise overview of what your business does, just to give the judges immediately your business background. So that can be noting your main offerings, your key development milestones, what the business is looking to achieve with future plans. And always sort of listing any awards or accolades that you've had in the last few years is also a good point to mention. Always continue to shout about those awards that you've won, as it's only something positive, isn't it? You will then move on to the specific category criteria points within the entry form, where you'll have the opportunity to supply information relating to the category itself. So it's giving you the chance to really evidence on why your business is eligible for that award in question. So each of those category points will have a 250 word limit. Again, just meaning that concise response is given to the judges, and we have a sort of specific question against each of those criteria points for you to respond to. We do have 11 categories open for entry. So as I say, that's a mix of, we've got 2 individual award categories that you can enter into. So that's Director of the Year and Young Entrepreneur. And then we have the remaining of those categories being suitable for any businesses to sort of enter as a whole. With the addition of the Suffolk Business of the Year category. This one is our sort of non-entry category, our Winner of Winners award. So what happens for this one is each of our winners are put forward to a judging panel, and then we have our finalists and winners sort of selected from this panel. If you are submitting 2 entries into the awards, obviously do make sure you supply a different copy. So tailoring your entry to the actual category is the best route to go down. This can also help if, for example, you were shortlisted for the Business of the Year category. If unknowingly at this stage you're a winner in 2 categories, the Business of the Year judges actually review your initial entries. So it really gives an opportunity to deliver as much information to them at this stage. The online entry form is a very sort of user-friendly, easier to submit your actual entry. But if you do have any questions at any time sort of throughout that entry process, you can also get in touch with us through our Contact Us page on the website. So on to some top tips. Although evidence isn't compulsory, it is obviously highly advised. So any proof of numbers to back up your claims is only going to be beneficial when the judges are reviewing your entry, and making sure that it's relevant to the point that you're responding to. So it's obviously easy to talk about all of the amazing things your business has done, but just remember to give those headline information points, as obviously, as we say, you're quite restricted to those sort of word counts. So it is important to get straight to the point and make sure that that information is the most suitable going forward. So what to think about, what makes you the best in Suffolk? Why your business is impressive compared to your competitors? Do your customers say that you're the best? If you have any testimonials that you could perhaps include in your entry, that's only going to be beneficial for the judges to see what you've done for your customers and clients, and detailing why your overall sort of experience that the business delivered is so memorable. So obviously ensure you consider all areas of your business that you excel in. So the service and facilities that you offer, care that you give to both your staff and customers, things like sustainability. Think about the ways that you are innovative in your field. Make sure the business story you detail is engaging, and be sure to shout about all of your successes. Ensuring that you don't duplicate information you provide. You obviously have a limited word count available, so it's all about sort of making sure that your information is to the point. finally, highlight why you are different and be sure to state your best qualities. As I mentioned, thinking about what makes you the very best. I'd definitely suggest read through the form twice. We would suggest looking at the questions on the website and producing your responses outside of the entry form before submitting, just to ensure they really are at their very best, most relevant, sort of concise state before you then submit it, allowing you to just proof the information detailed thoroughly, and make sure it's really going to sink in with the judges on that information that you are providing. And finally, just making sure that you submit your entry before the 29th of May, just to make sure you can meet our deadline and ensure your entry goes through to the judges on time. As I said, if you have any questions at all about the process, you can get in touch with us and we're more than happy to help. But from my perspective, good luck on submitting those entries, and hopefully those top tips have been helpful. So back over to Richard.
Yeah, time is running out there. The 29th of May is not far away. If there are any questions that you don't want to ask now, and I've got a couple which we'll get to, then you can, of course, send them to the website there, all.awards@archant.co.uk. There's also a lot of helpful bits and bobs on the website, so check that out. And I would suggest read through more than twice. I'd go for 3 or 4 times, frankly. I obviously deal with a lot of content, a lot of copy every day, and we give it a very good read through, believe it or not. Right then, let's get to the questions. Vicky, I think we've answered yours, but I'll read it out anyway in case anyone missed it. So Vicky writes, I can see is a maximum 2 entries per company, but I wondered whether a company can enter 2 award categories and then their CEO can enter Director of the Year category. I believe that is allowed, Steph. Is that true? Okay, so two business only awards, but you could also go for the director that's counted as a personal award, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Could you therefore, if you were so minded, enter 2 categories and Director of the Year and young business person of the year? Could you enter those 4 if you wanted? I guess you could.
I guess that could be possible, yes.
I guess that could be possible. I'm making up new rules as we go along here. Okay, Dan. Dan writes, we have to submit turnover and profit last 3 years for medium business. Due to COVID, finance performance may not be the same as the companies. How much did this affect? Well, listen, I think that when, financials are tricky things to discuss and tricky things to submit and tricky things often to understand as well. So I think the best thing to do is go for it. And then when you get to, if you get to the stage where there is a discussion, then, the judges can poke around a bit and any sort of mitigation can be put forward if indeed it is mitigation that you need. But financials alone won't win you these awards. You need to explain how and why that's happened and what you've put in place or how the growth has gone from one place to another. There could be any number of reasons. So I shouldn't, Dan, if I were you, worry overly. Of course, if you're about to go into administration, you're probably not worried too much about the Suffolk Business Awards. So I presume that's not the case. But nonetheless, I would stick it in and, worry about that when you get to it and just make sure you've got the evidence to explain what you've put forward. Have we got any more? Is there any more questions? Any hands in the audience? They looked. Oh, we've got another one. Oh, we've got 2. Fantastic. Okay, so Emma. Emma writes, just to clarify, is it just the word limit sections to be used in the application and you cannot attach a further PDF? Steph, that's probably one for you.
That's right. So we've got our word limits on the application forms this year. Obviously, we're trying to keep the entries quite concise and easy for the judges to sort of gain that information that they need to judge against the criteria points. So we are sticking to those this year, yeah.
What about, I certainly know we used to do this, can people sort of add links to online stuff if looking at the website helps, or looking at that, that's okay, yeah?
Yeah, that would be absolutely fine. And of course, you can include links to videos as well. If, there was something in particular that you wanted to demonstrate over video, for example, that you've produced or delivered for your business, that would be absolutely fine also.
Yeah, which kind of takes us on to Claire's question. How important are accompanying images? I guess it's important if you're a photographic firm. But I think if we're talking about, if this was, like you say there, if this was a marketing award or something, then images may well be very relevant. I would suggest for a lot of the awards, I don't think images will be hugely relevant, but I think you can attach them if you think it is relevant. Steph, is that right?
That's fine. Also, obviously, just to note that our judges do some additional research as well, as in going on businesses' websites and on their social media channels. So they really do dig deep and look into your business as a whole. So they'll obviously review your entry and then look into that a little bit further also. So they'll be able to see some additional imagery and so on, everything that you have on your website too.
Yeah, and obviously, if you become a finalist or a winner, we would want to use images in our own publications.
Absolutely.
That all works is all important, but that would be something to worry about at a later date. Obviously, Geek Retreat in Ipswich, which is brilliant if you're a middle-aged man like myself and into that sort of thing. Go along and check it out. We've only been open for 7 months, also operate as a franchise, family funded, which operates largely independently. And by the nature of what we do, it's a very personal endeavour. Do any of these things make us ineligible? I don't think so, Steph.
No, not at all. You're able to enter the awards. And if, for example, you're entering an award where, going back to the financials, if you do need to submit those, then you can submit your predicted financials. So, there shouldn't be any sort of restrictions on that.
Yeah, I think that this is a really good process for young businesses to go through, actually. We've had a few, and by their very nature, young businesses are often perhaps find it a little bit more difficult to get to that finalists and winner stage, but they have done in the past, so it's definitely worth entering. But as a process to really look at what you've done, because when you first start, it's so hectic. I think it's a really good sort of foot on the ball moment to review what you've done so far. So definitely enter. Okay.
And also with our feedback that we provide to businesses, as I said earlier, that can actually be really useful, not just for if you want to enter again next year, but also for you to consider what other things you might like to add to your business that would be beneficial, because obviously the judges are sort of experts in their field, and they could really offer some valuable advice there. So either way, if you're not selected as a finalist, it's such a good process to be involved in.
Actually, maybe this is a good point, Steph, just to talk about the judges, because the judges aren't just people from inside Archon. We are experts in what we do, but we're not experts in great other big sections of the business environment. So our judges are sourced from lots of business, some national businesses, some local businesses, and there's a panel of 2 or 3 usually who will really poke around in your entry in your business. So it's not just some tired old inky hack like me that makes these decisions. It's actually people who know what they're doing. Adam writes, we're a global company with a head office in Rotterdam. Are we able to enter as the UK team? That's a very good question, Steph, of which I do not know the answer.
If you have an office based in Suffolk, that will make you eligible to enter the awards.
There you go. Good news, Adam. Get scribbling. Okay, I've got one more. This is again from Emma. One for the criteria for medium business year asks for understanding of environmental impact and strategy. Would you be able to let me know, is the focus here green environmental? Okay, so I can try and answer this one a little bit. I don't know, Steph, if you've got any views on this, but I think a couple of years ago we sort of boosted this element of the awards criteria for businesses because we thought it was important for businesses to shout about the great things that they were doing with regards to decreasing the environmental impact of what they do, and we've seen some incredible innovation through the awards and in the business pages of all our papers and websites actually since. So yes, Emma, I think you're right there. That is a focus on how is your business, what is your business doing to become more sustainable and to tackle the issue of climate change. Steph, do you think I've answered that right? Or did I go completely rogue then?
No, I think that's perfectly fine.
I do have a tendency to do that. Is there any more questions? I'm very impressed by the amount of questions we got there. That's fantastic. Okay, well, Mike, I'd like to just finally come to you, because I've made you stay on, and I know you're very important and very busy, and you've got, I don't know, well, what time is it? Oh, you've got lunches to go to now. The champagne pubs will be popping even down in Ipswich. Goodness me, sounds like I've had some champagne shortly. The Cory Brothers famous lunches. Mike, just please underline to us, why it's worth taking that bit of time and entering the awards.
Yeah, certainly. I would honestly say to anyone who's considering this, even if you haven't considered it, do so. It's not worth not doing. You will win from it. You will gain from it. Even if you don't, get the actual prize, you will learn positive stuff about your business, about yourself, about your team. There are so many different things. The absolute bottom line is that you will gain. You will, you'll be better for it. It's not worth not doing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And the evening itself is brilliant. The process is really valuable. And, even if you don't make it as a finalist, your visibility to get in front of, the likes of me, a journalist who might be interested in your business and might want to write something, and in front of other industry experts, is really worth doing. It is not, you won't waste even 1 minute in entering, and you've got nothing to lose. So do go for it. If there is any further questions that you'd like to do outside, of course, use the email address that you can see on your screen there, and Steph, or one of her team, will get back to you and help you in the best way possible. From myself, Richard Porritt, Mike Bowden from Cory Brothers, and Stephanie Griffin, thank you so much for your time, and the very best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.